And then what happens, I think, when you have two homes is I come here, I miss home. I go home, I miss here. And it's
Yeah.
always going to be that way.
It's the Germany Experience podcast, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders. I'm your host, Sean, and you can visit the website, thegermanyexperience.de, for more information about the show, or you can contact me. I like being contacted. Go to thegermanyexperience.de/contact or send me an email, info@thegermanyexperience.de. And actually, my guest this week was someone who contacted me, I think through the website, if I'm not mistaken. I have Elizabeth as a guest this week from the United States of America. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Well, welcome to the show. And we're getting to there's a bit of a backstory about this episode that goes a bit. But yeah, I think you got in touch either through an email or through that contact page. I can't remember now. But
Yeah.
it's been a while. So, and what we did was we recorded a fantastic episode. That's something that I was really excited for people to hear. And there was just nonstop audio trouble for me to put the episode together. So I was like, oh no. So I came back to Elizabeth and I said, very sheepishly, would you mind if we do a redo? And here we are. You're very graciously decided to do a redo, and we're going to try this again. So welcome. Let's hope it works this time.
Let's hope it works. Let's cross all our fingers. And how many months ago was that? Because it was several months. It was before your summer break, I think.
It was before my summer break. I think it was way back in June, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So or maybe even earlier. I think maybe even May. So it's been a few months. But here we are. We're trying to get this working. And who knows if people will actually hear this episode, Elizabeth. It could be that
it's just between us again, same conversation, little new things thrown in. And we just like to do this every few months.
Every few months, yeah. And you're thinking, like, at some point he's got to post an episode of ours at some point, right? Otherwise it's just really a Zoom call.
Exactly. All right. Well, I'm going to say Prost and start with my beer.
You're going to start with your beer. So what you were drinking. So the reason that you're on and the reason that you're a guest is in the past you have had a history with Germany, which we're going to get into. We're going to cover it. So you've been backwards and forwards a few times. And that's why you're a guest. So you have an affinity to German, and now we're seeing it now. You're drinking what I think I saw was a Radler. Right?
Yes.
Yes. So what is the story about this specific Radler?
So I have news to share with you, Sean, that I've been waiting very
news.
Patiently to share. And so a lot can change in a few months' time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I'm currently living in Leipzig.
What?
Yes.
So you're not at all from the United States of America. Plot twist.
I'm still from there. I'm just not currently located there.
Yes. You're from the United States of America, but you're not beaming from the United States of America for this call. That is correct. So interesting. And I am completely surprised. That was a complete surprise for me as well. So something has definitely changed since the last time. Now, in the interview that we had where we spoke about everything, you were planning on a move, if I remember correctly. So tell me, so you're in Leipzig. How did this happen? What's going on?
Well, last time I remember ending the call with, anybody out there, any jobs, hit me up. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad I don't have to do that today. But yeah, as you mentioned, I've had I call it a love-hate relationship with Germany for about the past, next year will be 20 years since the first time that I lived in Germany. So I've been planning my return yet again and was applying for jobs. And I recently finished nursing school and now I'm a nurse. Before that, I was English as a second language teacher. So I knew first, I have to get my year in first, 1 year's experience. And I was trying to get a job on one of the American bases because I worked at the Veterans Hospital in North Carolina. So then that would kind of be like a transfer versus like starting from scratch. However, as one finds out, those jobs are not easy to come by. So
Okay.
months of applying, never got an interview, only got my, resume sent through for one of those jobs. So one night, then I was like, okay, Elizabeth, you need a plan B, you need a plan C. What are you doing here? Plan B was contract jobs, applied for some of those, got some callbacks, and I guess that gave me a little motivation. One night I stayed up till 2 a.m. and I was like, somehow, I'm not sure how, school nurse popped into my head, and I Googled international schools Germany.
Oh, okay.
I went on every fucking website that came up. Hopefully no one from my job hears this. They were the only one who had a position. I applied. Okay. They contacted me within like 8 hours, set up an interviewed on a Wednesday. They offered the job on a Friday. And then I fortuitously had vacation already planned. So I had 2 weeks vacation. I used that time to get my shit together, put in my notice, worked 2 more weeks, flew out on the 19th, arrived to Germany on the 20th. Also, another plot twist, still have not officially started. I'm waiting on the German bureaucracy to issue my work visa. Of course. So, I'm going to be a school nurse.
But that is amazing, and that's after months of searching, and you had that idea of a great fit for you as a nurse. Yeah, and then and it happened pretty quickly.
It happened very quickly, and I read the job description. I showed it to some of my friends, and they're like, "Oh my God, this looks like it was written exactly for you," because there's an education piece to it. They were excited that I speak German. So, there's the German piece with like COVID and reading all of that. What's the criteria this week or whatever. Yeah. So I'm pretty stoked.
That is amazing. So welcome to Germany. I had no idea when I was setting up this call. I was like, I just ended up when I was saying this is the appointment time, I was just giving you 9 p.m. in Central European time. And I was like, she'll work it out. She needs to work it out on her side. Meanwhile, it's the same time zone. I had no idea.
I know. I was like, do I tell him? I was like, no, save it.
This is amazing. So tell me about that Radler that you're drinking. Is that a local to Leipzig?
Oh my God. I found it in Aldi. And I was like, I love grapefruit Radlers. I mean, why not?
Who doesn't?
And guess how much?
How much?
49 cents. 49 cents.
That's good in my bag.
Like, hell yeah. I'm going to get some of those. Then I go back. Oh, you got some more? Because I need more of those.
You're like getting a grapefruit Radler problem. Like it's pretty much so. As soon as you land in Germany. This is amazing news. I'm so happy for you, and I'm so surprised at all at the same time. So then this changes the call a little bit that we were going to have. This changes the episode that we planned. So what we'll do first is, so I'm going to get to how it has been for you this time coming back and the experience of leaving the United States of America again. But let's just backtrack a bit and get a bit of your history. Yeah. So you said you have sort of a 20-year love-hate relationship. Oh, and by the way, that reminds me. As you rightfully said, Elizabeth, at the beginning, before we started recording, we should probably put a disclaimer.
Yes.
We should probably put a disclaimer.
Our disclaimer is we love Germany, hence why we're here. We also love Germans.
Yes, we do. We do. Some of them.
Yeah. However, there will be things that get on our nerves. And we may talk about some of those things today.
Oh, I am so hoping that we do, Elizabeth. I am so hoping that we do. So there you go. There's the disclaimer. Elizabeth has just moved to Germany, so obviously she wants to be here. I have been here for 14 years. Obviously, I want to be here. But I will tell you about Elizabeth, now that we've put that disclaimer up, it won't stop the 1-star reviews. I'm going to get 1-star reviews from Germans when we've had this discussion.
Well,
and I'm almost expecting it.
I'm sure, if I share some of my stories, I'm going to get 1-star reviews as well.
And you don't even have a podcast.
I don't even have a podcast.
And I was talking to some friends on the weekend, and I said to them, what the funny thing is that all my bad reviews, all of them, exclude. Like I don't think there's a single exemption that I can find came from Germans. Like they just rate the show badly. They hate the show apparently.
But then it begs the question, because I see this on a lot of the Facebook groups too. Why are you listening to an expat podcast or in an expat group if it makes you angry.
Exactly. I don't mind though. I take any kind of listener I can get. Just, you know what, carry on listening. Even if your blood is boiling, then that you know what, fine. I'm happy to have you as a listener. Thanks for being on board. I'm really not fussy. But I think, to be honest, you know, I joke about it, but I actually do have a lot of German listeners, and a lot of them I have very great conversations with, either on Instagram or they email me, and a lot of them tell me it's so wonderful to hear the adventures of expats and foreigners here in Germany. So I do joke about it. It's just the loudest ones that always give me the 1-star reviews. But a lot of Germans actually do love the show, and I appreciate you, and also appreciate the ones that hate the show. Just stay, just listen. I don't care. So with that all out of the way, where were we? Oh yes, you were going to tell me about your love-hate relationship. So explain to me how this fascination with Germany started.
Well, I was in college and taking French at the time. Had 4 years of Spanish in high school. So I wanted to learn French. I thought it was a beautiful language, but in order to study abroad, you needed 4 semesters, which meant another year and a half. Mm-hmm. You know, stuff going on at home. I was like, yeah, I got to get out of here. I got to go somewhere. So I went to the international office and said, yeah, I want to study abroad. And they were, you know, oh, okay, well, we have a new program in Germany. You don't have to speak the language. You can take classes in English. My only question was, can I go next semester? They said yes. I said, great. Sign me up. Sign me up. And came to Germany. That was like March 2002. Mm-hmm. And did not speak a single word of German. Right. On the plane, there were 2 friends, one from the same university, one from a different, but both in North Carolina. So we all flew over together and flew back together. They were trying to teach me, you know, some words on the plane. And one was like, you can say, ich spreche nur ein bisschen Deutsch. I was like, I don't know. I cannot say that. And furthermore, it's not even true. I mean, no. And they were cracking up at my pronunciation. It was, you know, a good time. So,
yes. That's actually a very difficult phrase for a new person new to, because it's got all the ichs and sprechen and bisschen, and it's incredibly difficult. So maybe the Germans knew that when they invented that phrase.
Maybe. Yeah. And even funnier, we get here, you know, I can only speak English, so I'm speaking English, and I'm from the South. And if you can't tell, my accent was much stronger then. And so one of the girls would translate my Southern English into standard English so other people could understand me. So,
and how was that first time for you? Like the first experience in Germany?
Oh my God, it was amazing. I was under 21, but you could drink in Germany. So that was a good time. You know, first time away from home, and just living my best life in college. Party time. It was fun.
Okay, so that was the first time. And then I assume that study time had to come to an end, right? Is that why you headed back eventually?
Yeah. Of course, towards the end of it, you know, then I was glad to be going home because, you know, the honeymoon phase ends and stuff starts to get real, gets on your nerves. But then I got home, and then this is what subsequently happened every time since then. Then I was like, oh man, I miss Germany. I want to go back. So did another study abroad, that time for a year. So the first time was just a semester. Mm-hmm. Second time a year. Then graduated. I actually ended up majoring in German because I didn't know what else I was going to do. Came back to Germany, taught English for a year. But then I was like, oh, I'm 25. I need to get a real job. What's up? I can't do this freelancing. And, you know, that's sometimes one of my biggest regrets. But then at the same time, you know, my life wouldn't have taken the path that it's gone on since had I not come back.
So you got that feeling that, okay, this freelance, I need to take things seriously. I need to have a serious career. I need to have a proper job. that was your mindset at the time. So then you went back to the States. But then was it also that time immediately that you got back, you thinking, oh man, I should have stayed in Germany?
Well, I got a real job at a public school teaching English as a second language. And I started that job and I was like, man, I fucking hate this job. This is killing my soul. So I was like, oh shit, what did I do? And then I thought, oh, okay, so like the smart thing would be to get a master's, then I can get a better job in Germany. But needless to say, getting your degrees recognized, all of that nonsense, it's not as easy. It's not easy.
Yeah. So then at some point in this whole path of things, you took on the whole nursing, you did the nursing studies, right?
Yeah. So, after teaching for, I don't know, almost 15 years. And at home, it was also similar. So if you don't want to work in public schools, then it's a lot of part-time stuff and driving here and there and all over the place. So I decided I needed something that was more stable, pays better, that kind of thing. So went to nursing school, got a nursing job, did my first year, and here we are.
Here we are, indeed. In Germany, as it turns out. I'm still getting over that surprise. So that's all very interesting. But through it all, the one thing has remained is that you've had this affinity for Germany because otherwise you wouldn't be back.
Yeah.
Right now. So.
Well, and I didn't say then after that time of teaching English, since then until now, I've come back almost every year, if not every year, every other year, whether like stay with a friend, look for a job on my 3-month tourist visa. Oh, don't find a job. Okay, go back home, save up money.
Right.
Okay, come back. I did an internship during nursing school in Frankfurt. 1 year, I took a German class in Freiburg. So, I mean, there's been a lot of back and forth pretty much since that first time. Yeah.
It sounds to me like in recent times, the reason that you've been leaving has more been that you couldn't find a job or couldn't find a way to stay here. But have there been other reasons that have put you off Germany while you've been here? Like you mentioned earlier, the honeymoon phase is over. Like, what is it that sends you back home eventually?
I think a lot of times it's like the mental health part of it. Doing this is not something that's easy. And I think a lot of times, you think it's going to be easy or it should be easy. And before like finding your podcast, finding other podcasts, and back in the day before a podcast or Facebook, I thought I was the only person doing this. I thought I was alone. Nobody understands me. Nobody understands me here. Nobody understands me at home. I'm just weird. And it gets lonely. You're here. You don't have anybody here. And then what happens, I think, when you have two homes is I come here, I miss home. I go home, I miss here. And it's always going to be that way. Yeah.
It's almost something that you just have to accept. And I think a lot of people experience this feeling of being between two cultures where you don't feel like you fit in the United States or wherever your home country is. But then you also, obviously, because you're a foreigner, you don't fit in here either. It's just, So it is a difficult compromise. And like you said, there are mental health issues that come into play with that kind of thing. The loneliness, the feeling of isolation, it has a huge knock on your self-esteem as well. Even if you could be a confident person coming over here, and then maybe you'll deal with the problems that come up. But being a foreigner in Germany, your self-esteem takes a knock. It just takes a knock. So those are, I can see how those could all be potential things that would lead someone to leave, essentially.
Yeah, and I think my go-to is just flight. So I'm like, let me go. Got to go right now.
Got to get out.
Got to leave.
And something that I want to ask you is, what is your relationship with Germans?
I think it's fairly good, especially now that my German is pretty decent. I have several German friends. I don't know anyone here in Leipzig, so that was kind of a gamble. And I've only been here once, like almost 20 years ago with one of the girls I was mentioning earlier. And she was like, we've been there, Elizabeth. Do you remember? I was like, no, I have no recollection of this. She's like, I've got us on video. I was like, okay, please find this. So I remembered nothing about the city But I have to say, you asked, or you said one of the things you wanted to ask about earlier. This has by far been the best start to any of my stays. Take out the study abroads because you have a lot of support there. This has been the best start so far in Germany. And people in Leipzig are some of the friendliest Germans. And I'm talking about from an American perspective that I've ever met. I'm like, what? Are y'all German? I mean, because I'm confused. But I would say on the whole, it's good. But then, sometimes strangers are assholes. But, you got assholes all over the world.
Yes, you do. That is factually correct. You do actually come across assholes in your own home country,
yes,
potentially. So
yeah.
I know what you're saying about Leipzig. I've been there a few times. I love that city. But like you said, one of the things that I also noticed that struck me was that they are more open. They feel, I don't know whether it was the city or whether it's just that area, but they definitely feel more open and friendlier than
helpful.
Especially where I'm from. And helpful.
I can't even explain it. Like, I was on the train from Dresden to Leipzig. I had 3 suitcases, my dog. So that was really anxiety producing. I'm moving stuff. One lady sees my dog's bag and she's like, "Oh, what do you have there? You have an animal?" I was like, "Yeah, I have a small dog." Get the suitcase. I'm waiting like in the little area where the doors are. And I let his head pop out. "Oh, he's so cute." Then we're just like making small talk, which is not something that ever happens in Germany.
No.
We're making small talk. And she's like, "Oh, were you on a long trip or blah, blah?" And I was like, "No, I actually just got a job in Leipzig, so I'm moving here." And she's like, "Oh, where are you coming from?" And I said, "The US." She was like, "Oh, you're not German?" I was like, "No." She's like, "Oh, I thought you were German." I was like, "Yes."
That is the ultimate. That is the ultimate.
24 hours of being awake and jet lag, and you still think I'm German? Yes. But then,
or maybe it was because of all those things. That could also help.
Maybe that's it. But then yesterday, I go to a groomer, and I'm like asking, "Oh, are you taking new clients?" And then she's like, "We can speak English if that's easier for you." And I was like, "Shit, man." I was like, "Fine, whatever. Sure, let's speak English. Who cares?" I will speak German.
I was going to ask you about Leipzig, but it sounds like you're having an amazing time there so far. So that's at least good. And the grapefruit Radler.
Exactly. How can you go wrong with that?
Yeah. So the last time we spoke in the interview that didn't make it to any kind of fruition was you had a sign.
Oh, yes.
And I want to know if it made the travel with you. Because so essentially, tell me about the sign.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to break it to you. I can't display it. It has not made it over yet. It will make it over.
That's fine. That's all I wanted to hear. That at some point it was going to make it over.
It has to. So the first time I was studying in Germany, one of the things that struck me about the Germans is their ability to stare.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it a talent, because they can stare, not breaking eye contact, almost not blinking.
Yes.
You can look at them. You can smile. Their facial expression does not change. You look away. You look back. They're still there. And I thought, I'm from the South, if somebody's staring at you, you smile. Or you look away, you gotta, or you compliment something they're wearing. That's what you were looking at, because you're not just staring. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with these people? Like, okay, they're staring at me because I'm not German. That's what it is. But then, I come back years later, I'm dressed like a European. I'm not wearing my white tennis shoes and sweatsuit. No, they don't know I'm not German. They just stare. So, the first time experiencing this, it just starts to get under your skin. So my 2 girlfriends and I, that's when you could get on the Army base with just your passport. You didn't have to be in the military. And they would, every year, 4th of July, they would have festivities, and it was open for Germans and Americans. And so it's almost kind of like the stand, like at any festival, like they have the little stands, like at the Christmas markets, you can buy different things. Mm-hmm. So one thing was somebody was printing like license plates, but not like, a real license plate, but like the, what are they called? The vanity plates.
Yeah, the vanity plates, right.
And I was like, oh, hell yeah, I know what I'm getting. I said, I want the German flag colors, okay? Black, red, yellow. And on that, I want you to write, was guckst du? Because I want to know what the hell you're looking at.
Yeah, was
you're always
guckst du
looking.
translates as, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? Was guckst du?
So
I think that is amazing. Amazing.
I mean, you can't, that just describes my first 6 months in Germany. There you go.
Yeah, was guckst du? But it's something. I was actually going to say, when you were saying that they love to stare, it is a talent. Exactly like you said, it is a talent because they can stare for a long time. But the thing is that emotionless part is what freaks me out. It's just like this dead stare where you're thinking, are they seeing into my soul?
Yes.
Are they like?
And then you're like, you're
on?
like, oh God, do I have something on my face?
Yeah, something on my face.
Is there a hole in my shirt? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, it is very, very off-putting. Yeah. Have you had moments where you were just completely freaked out by people staring at you?
All right. If you get offended easily, Germans, please stop the podcast right here.
Or skip like ahead 3 minutes or something. I don't know how
come back in 2 minutes.
Or just start writing your 1-star reviews already.
Yeah. Start that and then come back in 3 minutes and you continue. This was the time that I was teaching English in Lingua. And so I lived in Mannheim, and a lot of my classes were in Ludwigshafen, which is across the river. And I was like, oh, yeah, I need to get a bike. I can bike there and, save money. So in Ludwigshafen was a Real, where it's a huge chain like grocery store, but they also sell lots of other stuff. So like one week they had a special on bicycles. I was like, oh, perfect. I'm going to get my bike. So I go over there, and then like you buy it and it's like handlebars are turned around backwards. I was like, well, I can't just ride this home. Okay, well, all right. So I'm going to get on the Straßenbahn. That's what I'm going to do. I was like, oh shit, man. Like, can you get on there with a bike? And I'm like, well, yeah, I think you can. So, like having this whole like internal dialogue of like, oh, should I do it? Should I not do it? Well, I can't just walk it home. That's too far. So I was like, okay, all right, get your ticket. Then you could just go like to the very end of the platform, and you just get in the last car, out of everybody's way. And then you just get off. It's only a few stops. It's not too far. So I do that. And it was also not like a busy time. And of course, these dumbasses wait, and they get in the same car that I'm getting on, and they sit right near me.
They can see you've got a bicycle, right?
Yeah.
They can see you've got a bicycle getting on. Right.
And you sit near me. And then they're like, position themselves so they can just stare at me. And, let's be honest, like, this was not the honeymoon phase of my time during that time. I don't remember all of the phases, but it wasn't the honeymoon phase.
Things were starting to take a downturn.
They were. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, why? Just why? Why are you staring at me? And, not a proud moment, Sean, but I lost it.
Yeah.
And
on the tram.
On the tram. And finally I said to the man, so like it was a man and a woman, and there could have been other people with them, but they weren't even sitting together, but they're both staring at me. But he was closest. And so I looked at him, and in German that I don't even know that I could repeat at this moment, but I just said, what are you fucking staring at? And he's like, oh, well, you're not supposed to have a bike on here. And I was like, you know what? How about you mind your own fucking business? And then while you're at it, tell your wife to stop staring at me too.
Just like losing your shit.
Just lost my shit.
I love it.
And then, of course, I had to take it even further because, young Elizabeth just had no refrain. At least now I can kind of take a step back, maybe just walk away. But then I took it a step further, and I even said "du" instead of "sie" because you're going to be "du Arschloch." I mean,
young Elizabeth was having none of that.
She wasn't. But problem solved. Then I think they looked away.
So it worked. Message got home.
I mean, I'm sure they went on to talk about that crazy ass American, but maybe they learned their lesson. Who knows?
I think you speak for many, many foreigners in Germany when you told that couple of. It's almost like you were a hero, Elizabeth. It's finally saying what so many people have been afraid to say, and I love that you chose to say "du Arschloch" instead of "sie Arschloch." That's a thing of beauty. That really is.
If you're gonna insult somebody, go all the way.
Yeah, like you're in it now. You're in it.
Yeah, I'm committed. So I was committed to it.
Yeah, and I picture you, but like I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas, where he's having that really bad day and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So, like you were saying, things can be the case of, as a foreigner, you're having a really tough time, and then it just happens that a German comes as a representative for his people.
Yes.
And stands in front of you, and sometimes you just want to unleash all of that frustration and anger on that person that happens to be in front of you right now. It doesn't mean that he didn't deserve it, because he did, but he just gets like the full wrath of your frustration.
He did. So. And I don't know. I was going to say I'm a little bit sorry, but I don't know. I don't know that I am. I think he probably deserved it. I probably took it a little step too far as well, but but that's an example of one of my love-hate things about Germany. So I love that they think about other people, because I don't feel like we as Americans, it's all about what can I do? It's all about me. Well, I have the right to drive in the left lane going 60, picking my nose, even if somebody wants to pass me, right? But here you think about other people. But then they can take it a step too far, where you're all up in my business. And then that brings out the American part of me that's like, mind your own business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I sometimes don't realize that I don't think that they realize that that they're crossing those boundaries. They have no, because to them it's just normal to be able to tell a foreigner what they should and shouldn't be doing, or how they should or shouldn't be behaving. So they don't even know that they're crossing a boundary sometimes.
Yeah, and one other quick example of that is I remember being on the street corner at a stoplight waiting for it to turn for pedestrians. And there was a car stopped. And I mean, this was years ago. And the guy was like on a cell phone. And then the pedestrian next to me is yelling at him, "You're not supposed to use the phone while you're driving." I'm like, dude, he's at a fucking red light.
It's fine.
Like, not hurting anybody. Like, why can't you just walk on?
Instead of yelling at him for just disparaging him for using a cell phone.
Yeah.
Oh, it is amazing. Yeah. And I've had a few stories like it. I think I told some in the last episode that went out, or a few, I think 2 episodes ago, where I had the Q&A, where I had some guy telling me not to buy wood at the place that I was buying wood, just because it was the dumbest thing he'd ever seen. I'm like, what are you even talking about? Just why are we having this discussion? Just keep it in your head. Yeah. Keep it in your head. Yeah. It's fine. Everyone's fine.
You don't have to say everything you think.
No, you don't. You don't. So, but from what you're saying to me now, like, despite all of these things, it's enough to keep you coming back. These sort of misunderstandings, and at least your German is great, so you got that going. Although they do, I mean, what's the dialect there in Leipzig? It's pretty could be pretty difficult, right?
That would. I said I didn't remember anything about Leipzig, but we also went to Dresden that trip, and the only thing I do remember, and mind you, my German wasn't good back then. I did remember thinking, "Oh, their accent is so strong, I can't understand them."
Yes.
So far, so I don't know if I'm only meeting people who aren't from here or what, but so far I haven't had any issues. But I've only been here a week and a half. So I haven't been to a lot of places. I haven't, but the people I have encountered, it's been fine.
It's been fine. And it's probably because your command of German language is far better now than it may have been before, which I think having good German definitely helps you with understanding the dialects, because at least you have that basis. So what do you think is going to make it different for you this time, Elizabeth? Is this a move that you're making within in your mind that you want it to be permanent, or are you open to going back? And if not, what is it going to be that's going to keep you here this time?
Yeah, and I am... Sorry, Emily, if you listen to this, I am making this move as a permanent move. That's my hope.
Okay. Who's Emily?
She's one of the girls I studied abroad with the first time that I was telling you about. Yeah.
Right.
And she's back in North Carolina, and she's like, I don't want you to stay gone. So she told me not to bring too much shit because you have to get it back there. So that's always the issue, like, then I'm like, oh, are you coming to visit? Here, you can take some of this back for me. But this contract that I have is for 2 years right now. I think a lot of things. I think with age comes experience / wisdom, if you will, kind of my list of what I consider quality of life. So for example, I was going to say small, but it's not even a small thing. At my last job working at the hospital, I was driving 35 minutes one way, cussing people out the whole way because, as I said, people don't know how to drive, in North Carolina. It's very stressful. Now I walk 6 minutes to work. I mean, that right there is going to change my life. I haven't cussed anybody out on the sidewalk on the way to work or home from work yet.
Yet, Elizabeth. It's still early days. But yeah, that takes a massive amount of stress out of the daily life, I think, just not having that commute where you're going so far and you have so many chances of getting caught in traffic and stuff. It really takes a lot of energy and drains your soul. And I think I also lived in the city for a while, and it was also a case of you just around the corner from where you work. And it just makes a huge difference to your mindset, I think.
I mean, to be totally transparent, September 2020, I had a bad car accident on the interstate at home on the way home from work. And after that, I just said, I want to move back to Germany. I'm going to make it happen because you never know how long you have. And I'm not enjoying this job. I'm not enjoying driving, and I'm going to do something, and I'm going to make whatever time I have left good for me.
Yeah. And that does, of course, come with sacrifices.
Yeah.
And and leaving people like Emily behind.
Yeah. I have a lot of good friends at home. My family's at home. Yeah. But in some ways too, being here also made some of my relationships stronger because I'm good at keeping in contact with people. You don't have to talk to people every day to still be good friends with them, Yeah. And I think the people that really care and will come visit. Yeah.
And you'll get back fairly regularly, I should imagine. So yeah, it is easier these days to keep in touch with people and keep that relationship going despite being miles away. Yeah. I am expecting that Emily's going to write a 1-star review.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, Emily. You will break the 100% German 1-star review.
That's right.
Another thing that you mentioned earlier, and I wanted to ask you about, you said you were on the train from Dresden to Leipzig with a dog. So you came here with a dog from the United States.
Yeah, let me show you. He was just trying to get on my lap.
Show me the dog.
He's got on his house coat because we got haircuts before we moved.
Aww.
So this is Fritz.
Hey, little fella. That's Fritz. Yeah. I like the name, Fritz. He's adorable little house coat that he's got on. Hey, Fritz. How's it going?
Yeah.
So he came from the United States. You had the trip on the plane. Did he sit with you, obviously, at your seat in the plane, or how does that work?
Yeah. So this is like his 4th trip to Germany, I must admit. But he's older now, so he's supposed to stay under the seat. Hopefully nobody from Delta is listening, but the plane was pretty empty, I think, thanks to COVID. So that's one thing I can be thankful for during this time. So I found a couple of empty seats, got him out of his bag, put him on the seat with me. I laid down, covered him up with the blanket. Nobody knew. We took a nap.
So that's at least because that flight could be quite stressful, I think, with an animal. But like you said, I traveled back to South Africa a few weeks ago, and one of the few things that we have to thank COVID for is the planes at the moment. Is just I had both ways going to South Africa, coming back, just a whole row of seats to myself, and also no one sitting across the aisle to me as well. So it was really like my own little private plane that I was on. So that was amazing. So that's perfect if you've got a dog that you can take with you. And then of course getting the dog and all your luggage from Dresden to Leipzig was, like you said, pretty anxiety
Yeah,
creating?
I got medicine for him for the flight. I got medicine for me for the flight. Both great decisions.
Yeah.
100% recommend that. And it turned out, like I said, to be one of the best trips and starts in Germany that I've ever had. And that's saying something because I've had a lot. You know, when people ask me, "Oh, how long have you lived in Germany?" I'm just like, which time? I mean, I don't know what to say. What do you want to know?
Yeah. pick one.
Yeah.
I'll answer your questions about that one.
Study, teaching, looking for a job, taking a class. What do you want to know?
Well, I think it's amazing that you've landed up here, Elizabeth. Like I said, at the beginning of the chat, I was very surprised when you told me that you're here because I fully expected to be having a discussion with you in the States. I'm kind of happy because as much as the German internet connections get a bad reputation, this has been fairly free-flowing compared to...
It was better than the North Carolina one.
Better than your North Carolina internet, I can tell you that much. So I am pleased that you're now in Germany, if only just for the internet connection. Yes, so that was amazing to chat to you, get your thoughts and opinions on Germany. And everything looks like it worked. Looks like we're recording the audio. Everything's going smoothly. So I think, Elizabeth, that this could work. Awesome. But that doesn't mean I won't get in touch with you. Maybe we'll do a catch-up session next year and talk about how your time in Leipzig has been.
Yeah.
And your thoughts and opinions on it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and we'll chat again sometime.
Sounds good. Take care.